was a time when I was so quiet that people would walk all over me. It was at work, at home, in spaces where I just kept showing up for everybody else. I thought that I was being easy to work with and just easy to be around. But what I was really doing was being easy to ignore. And it took a real toll on me. So today, we are talking about the audacity that it takes to stand up for yourself, even if you're quiet. Hey, hello, everyone. I am Natasha, and this is The Quiet Mic. This is where we talk about what it really looks like to lead with quiet authority without turning yourself into some type of a performance, right? So if you're a quiet leader, a business owner, or a professional who's just tired of feeling like you've been ran over, this is the place for you. Okay, this space is for you. Okay, right now, we are live. We are live on both YouTube and LinkedIn. And if you're watching on YouTube, I like to say, first of all, hello. And also, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with somebody that you feel needs to hear this conversation. Now, if you're on LinkedIn, hey, hello to you too. And make sure that you share this live and feel free to connect with me if you feel that this message lands well with you. Okay. And for those of you that catch the replay or you catch it somewhere else that I may decide to post it, you can always find the full episode of if you catch a clip or something, you can find the full episode on my YouTube channel, which is the Quiet Mike Official. This that we're in today is the Quiet Authority Conversations, which is my weekly live series where we talk about real leadership for people who don't want to become loud just to be taken seriously. All right. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Now, I won't be here before you long, as I always say to you. But I want to go ahead and get into today's conversation. Today's conversation is personal for me, and I know I say that often, but this is a space where I talk a lot about topics that are personal to me, and I talk a lot about, first of all, not changing who you are. But I want to say this: I also believe this. You can't keep moving the exact same way and expect your life and your leadership to change. Okay. Now, there was a season where I was so quiet that people could say anything to me, they could pile anything on me, and I would just take it, right? I didn't speak up when I was hurt, and I didn't push back when I was overloaded. I didn't correct people when they got it wrong about me. Okay, I remember that I didn't even like correct people for mispronouncing my name. Okay. And I told myself that I was being kind. I told myself I was being humble. I told myself that I was being professional. And the truth is this: I was disappearing. Okay. And it showed up in my body. I was stressed, I was tired, heavy, and it showed up in my mind as well. And I would replay conversations at night thinking about what I wish that I had have said. It showed up in my work. I was doing way too much for too little, and no one knew because I never said anything. And at some point, I looked at my own life and I said, I can't keep doing this. This is not gonna happen. I said something needs to change. And I didn't become loud. I didn't become a different person. Um, but I made a decision to move differently. And I decided that I was not going to keep agreeing to my own harm. And that's what I mean when I say audacity. Okay. The audacity to stand up for yourself, even if you're quiet. Okay. I challenge you to do that. Okay. Today, I want to talk about what that really looks like, not in theory, but in real life, because we're dealing with we're dealing with real life, right? If you're honest, you might see yourself in some of the things that we talk about today. You might say yes when you're already at your limit, and you say, keep saying yes. You might let people interrupt you and you just let your point go. Okay. Or you might take on work that is not yours just because it's easier than having a hard conversation. Okay. You see, on the outside, you keep telling yourself to keep the peace while on the inside, you're falling apart. And you tell yourself, I don't want to be difficult, or I don't want to be emotional. Yeah, you probably heard that. Or I don't want to be seen as ungrateful, right? Does any of those sound familiar? Any. Uh, so you end up not saying anything. And then what happens is over time, that silence eats at you. You start to feel resentful. You start to feel invisible, excuse me. You start to feel like people just don't flat out care about you. But here's the hard truth: people cannot honor boundaries that you never say out loud. Yeah, you never said it out loud. People can't read needs that you never express. And people can't respect a line that you never draw. Okay. And I know that those statements may have ruffled some feathers, but it needed to be said. Silence is not always a sign of strength. Sometimes it is a sign of fear. Not fear of other people, but fear of what it's going to mean if you finally tell the truth, right? If you tell the truth about what you need and what you will not accept anymore. That's what that fear is. The reason this matters is quite simple. At least it's simple to me. You can't build quiet authority if you keep abandoning yourself. You can't lead, serve, or build at a high level. Again, at a high level, if you're constantly ignoring the voice that's inside of you that's telling you this is not okay, this is too much, or this is hurting me. Standing up for yourself is not being extra, okay? And I put that in quotes because you will always say, "Oh, she's being extra." It's not that. It's your responsibility, okay? Today, I want to share a few realizations about um, self advocacy and the audacity that changed the way that I move. Okay. These are not steps, these are not rules. I say that every time because I don't want you to think these are steps or rules, but these are truths that for me, I had to face in my own life. And I'm sharing them because I know I'm not the only one who has ever felt walked over, worn out, and still trying to be the good one. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's walk through them. Realization number one: silence is not always noble. It's not. Mm-mm. You see, sometimes it's self abandonment. A lot of us were taught that being quiet, being agreeable, and not making waves is a sign of maturity. We used to hear things like, pick your battles, let it go, just let it go. Don't let them see you sweat, right? And I want to pause here. First of all, does any of those sound familiar? But I wanted to pause because in some cases, I want to say this: all of those things may be applicable. They may be. But in my personal opinion, I do feel that there needs to be a certain level of discernment when it comes to the things that you address. In my opinion, all things don't need to be addressed. But I'm not talking about those times. I'm talking about the times where we made silence our go to response, okay? When we stayed quiet when somebody else took credit for our work, or we stayed quiet when someone spoke to us in a way that was, I'm gonna say it was disrespectful, right? Or we stayed quiet when our workload doubled and then tripled, and then no one said, "Is this even reasonable?" Yeah, I'm talking about those moments. Those are the moments that I'm referring to. Just so we're on the same page. But for a while, we may have to feel like we were proud of that silence, right? We called it strength. We called it grace. We call it professionalism. But if I'm being honest, a lot of that silence was not noble. It was self abandonment. It was us saying, you know what? Everybody else gets to have needs and limits, but I don't. Yeah, I don't. It was us saying that everyone else gets to be human, but I have to be the one who can just take anything, right? That is not humility. That's neglect. Okay. You're not meant to be the place where everything lands and nothing gets processed. That's not for you, friend. It's not. You are a person. I'm going to say that again. You are a person. Okay, friend. So standing up for yourself begins with telling the truth about the silence that you've been calling strength. Okay. Any level of silence that costs you your health, any level of silence that costs you your peace, any level of silence that costs you your self respect is not strength. It is you leaving yourself behind. Okay. So let's talk about what standing up for yourself can look like, especially if you're quiet. Okay. That brings us to realization number two. Realization number two, you can stand up for yourself without becoming loud or rude. Oof, shots fired. I know that hurt. One reason that many people that are quiet don't stand up for themselves is this: you think that your only choices are to stay silent or to turn into somebody that you don't even recognize, right? You picture yourself standing up for yourself as yelling, as snapping, or dragging someone in public, right? Or you may see it as being the angry one. I'll say that quotation mark. She's the angry one. So you stay quiet. But there's a whole middle ground that nobody taught you. I'm guilty. Okay. You can say things like, I'm not available for that, in a calm tone. You can say, that doesn't work for me, without raising your tone. Okay. You can say, I don't like how that was said, without cussing somebody out. Right. Those are things that you can do to advocate for yourself. Okay. You can even say, I need more time, or I can't add that to my plate right now, without giving a long explanation. Okay. What I'm saying to you is this: you can stand up for yourself in a way that still sounds like you. Okay. So here's a few simple, I'm gonna say they're simple examples. Maybe instead of saying nothing when someone pushes past your limit, you could say something like, I want to support this, but with my current workload, I would need either a different timeline, or for us to pause, um, we'll have to pause something else. Okay. Or you could say something like, instead of laughing off a hurtful comment, because comments do hurt, you could say something like, I know you may not have meant it that way, but that didn't sit right with me. Okay. Or instead of always just taking on extra work, you could say something like, I'm at capacity. I can do this or that, but not both. Which one is the priority? Okay. You don't have to be sharp. You don't have to be harsh. Okay. Because that's the misconception. You just have to stop abandoning yourself in the name of being nice. Okay. You can be quiet and still say, that is not okay with me. Okay. Now, here is the part that can be very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Realization number three: the first person who has to take you seriously is, guess who? It's you. Okay. I said it. It's you. Before anyone else respects your boundaries, you have to respect your boundaries. Okay. I know that sounds simple. I know it. I've been guilty, but it's not simple. You can't say, I'm not available after 6 p.m. and then now here you are answering emails after 9. Okay. You can't say, I'm done taking on last minute emergencies, and then you clear your whole day every time someone brings you an emergency. Okay. And you can't say, uh, that was not okay. And then you minimize it later on and you tell yourself, you were just, oh, I was just being dramatic. I was being dramatic. You start talking to yourself, maybe I was being dramatic. You see, every time you go back on your own word, you now are teaching yourself that you don't have to be taken seriously. And then people pick up on that. Okay. Standing up for yourself is not just about the conversations that you have with other people. It's also about the conversations that you have with you. Because honestly, you should be having the conversations with yourself before you have them with anybody else. But think about this: do you listen when your body is tired? Do you honor it when your mind says, we can't keep doing this. We can't. Do you keep your promise to yourself, or do you only keep promises to other people? I want you to think about that. Okay. Quiet audacity starts inside. It sounds like you telling yourself, I'm not going to keep signing up for my own burnout. Okay. So you have to start talking to yourself first. I'm not going to keep saying yes when I mean no. I'm not going to keep saying it's fine when it's not fine. And then acting like you believe yourself, right? We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay. If you won't stand up for yourself, you're going to make it easier for other people to sit you down. Okay. I want you to remember that. Which leads into my last realization. See, I told you I'm not going to be here before you long. Realization number 4: evolution starts with one decision to move differently. One decision. I want to be clear about something. I didn't wake up one day and become an entirely new person. Because obviously, I'm not an entirely new person. There's some things that I've made decisions on. Okay. I'm still quiet. I still think deeply. I still notice more than I say. But I did have a moment where I said, I'm not living like this anymore. I did. And I looked at the ways that people were running over me. I looked at the physical and the mental toll that it was taking on me. And I made a decision. I made a decision not to become loud, not to become hard, but to move differently. That was my decision. And for me, it looked like this: saying one thing out loud that I would have normally swallowed. That's how it started. It looks like letting no be a full sentence, because it is, even when my voice shook. No is a full sentence. It looked like telling someone, I can't take that on, and then sitting in the discomfort instead of going to rescue them from it. Okay. It looks like just being honest with myself about relationships and roles that only worked as long as I kept abandoning myself. Right. And full transparency moment here. That was the beginning of my evolution, not a personality transplant. That's not what it was, but it was an evolution. I evolved. But it was a series of small, clear decisions that I made to stop leaving myself out of my own life. Yep. See, your evolution will not look exactly like mine. And I want to be clear, it should not look like mine, okay? But it will require the same thing. And here's that one thing: a decision to move differently. Yep. That's what it's going to require. It's going to require you to move differently. Not once, not twice, but over and over and over repeatedly. Every time that you choose to stand up for yourself in a small way, you're building a new pattern. You're telling yourself, we don't abandon us anymore. Yep, we don't do that anymore. Audacity is not about becoming loud. It is about finally refusing to disappear. Okay. And you have to make that decision for yourself that I'm not going to disappear anymore. I'm not going to disappear on me. Now, I want to leave you with a question and a few simple actions that you can try this week. You know, I had to leave you with something. I always do. So here's the question: the question is, where in your life are you still letting people walk over you and pretending that you're okay with it? Okay. I want you to go ahead and put that in the comments. Maybe it's at work where you keep taking on extra tasks without speaking up. Maybe it's in your business where you have clients that keep crossing lines and you keep saying, it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. Maybe it's in a relationship where your needs are always last and you keep over explaining yourself. Here's what I want you to do. Got a pen and paper? Nah, you probably don't need it. I want you to pick one situation, just one. Ask yourself, what would the audacity to stand up for myself look like here? What would it look like in a way that still sounds like me? Okay. Maybe it looks like saying, I'm not available for that, and then just stopping there. Okay. Maybe it looks like sending that one email that asks for clarity or potentially pushes back on a deadline that's not realistic. Okay. Maybe it looks like telling someone, the way that was said didn't sit right with me, and leaving it there. Or maybe it looks like saying, I need help, instead of pretending that you have it all handled. Okay. I want to be clear. This is not about turning yourself into a new person tomorrow. It's not. But it is about one decision, one sentence, one moment where you don't leave yourself behind. Okay. Here's what I want you to take with you. Okay. The audacity to stand up for yourself, even if you're quiet, even if you're quiet, it's not about becoming loud, because that's the misconception. It's not about becoming loud. It's about telling the truth about what you need, what you feel, and what you will no longer agree to, and then letting your actions line up with that truth. That's what it's about. All right. You can still be kind and still say no. You can still be professional and then still say, that's not reasonable. Okay. You can still be quiet and just say, that doesn't work for me. Okay. You don't have to abandon who you are in order to evolve. Okay. But you will have to decide to move differently. Okay. That's the caveat. You're going to have to make a decision. And that decision is, how am I going to move going forward? Now, if this conversation spoke to you, you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another quiet leader, quiet professional, quiet entrepreneur, whoever, anyone that needs to hear this message. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, share the live, connect with me if you saw yourself in anything that I said today. Okay. And if you catch it later, wherever else I may post it, make sure that you can come back and watch the full episode on YouTube. Okay. And my channel name is at the Quiet Mike Official. Okay. I want to make sure that I invite you to join me every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time for Quiet Authority conversations, just like this one. Okay. This is where we talk about what it really looks like to lead without leaving yourself behind. All right. Whew. Remember, the quiet ones move the room. So let your quiet speak loud. Until next time, bye bye.